Alright guys, welcome to the grand finals of the Monthly Cup number 10. And I'm joined on Cappuccino on the desk. And we have Teddy going up against Zarakar. Any thoughts on this match before it starts?
Yeah, so two amazing players making it this far into the series, into the grand finals. And for anyone that missed it over on the Korean stream, we saw Teddy play up against Alvar. And Teddy, while he was streamed there, played a blue jump deck, and he also played a red control deck featuring bomb slingers. So we have a little bit of an idea of what Teddy's been playing, so I can give you guys that information. And Zerikar in the past we saw play Yellow Events and the Crackthorn list, and both of those decks performed very well for him. And I think we've only seen two decks from both of these players, so maybe in this series we'll get to see the third deck out of one of these players at least.
Yeah, I'm assuming that both players are going to be running Neutral Rush as their last deck, so I'm going to have a Neutral Rush mirror to conclude the grand finals. But I think I'm being a little optimistic there. But Teddy, he's a player that got introduced into the game by Heavy, I believe, as a friend of Heavy, who is a part of Team Equilibrium. And ever since he started playing this game, he's had a major impact, much like Utoko did and XYZ. Very much reminds me of those two players. And strong ladder performances on two accounts. Streaming, like he's gone full Faeria, and he's done exceptionally well with it so far. Whereas Zarakar, he qualified for Battle of the Gods, losing to Sweetie, which is, that's pretty much fine. Sweetie's an exceptional player, and now here he is in the finals, potentially to claim his first crown in a monthly cup. So I'm excited to see which way this will go. Is anyone you favour in this match? Based on results or based on what you've seen?
I mean, just going off ladder, I believe Teddy got up to almost 1900, or maybe he passed 1900 on the ladder before the season reset, was number one and number two before he started playing troll decks on his Smurf. So I gotta say, Teddy's been performing very, very well. But then again, this is a tournament. Maybe Sarakar can just put in that little bit extra and pull out a win. So I gotta say, I think Teddy is my favorite to win, but we'll see as this goes.
Alright, so let's get into the match. Cappuccino, you're going to be joined by Scorch for casting the finals. Good luck, guys, and enjoy the game.
All right, thank you very much, Vlad. Here we go, guys. The Grand Finals, Monthly Cup X for the April season. Teddy versus Zarakar. Very excited for this one. Cappuccino, what do you think?
I'm super excited. This is where you start to break down just even the little plays, because everything these players do in this Grand Finals is the top of the top. These are the best players, and you get to, see all the different lines, how they maneuver their cards, and just how you get out that little bit extra value in these matchups. And I expect to see some very top-notch play. And to start things off, we have Teddy with his blue jump deck, and something interesting is this blue jump deck actually runs sturdy shells. So a little bit disappointing for him not to find it in his starting hand, but he does have Triton Warrior and Prophet of Tides, which is extremely strong. But for Sarakar, we have the Sagami Warrior as the opening play.
Yeah, this looks like a great start for Zarakar. Two Sagami Warriors, one Axe Grinder means he's going to basically be able to keep up with all of the creatures that Teddy's going to be able to pump out with these blue jump, low, small cost creatures. Zarakar just going to be able to keep up with that every single time. And there we see it again, Teddy bringing out the Spell Whirl as well.
Yeah, it looks like Spell Whirl's actually managed to catch on a little bit, and a pretty decent Spell Whirl there. Gets at least Frogify, so already gets a premium card. And he went up the opposite side. Now, sometimes you'll consider whether or not to go up the same side of a green-red player, but he was scared, what if the opponent just drops a Ground Shaker in front of his creature? What if he drops a blocker? What if he just drops an Axe Grinder? So he goes up the opposite side just so he can guarantee that he starts getting in these collections, the Discount Colossus, gets to take the trades on his own terms.
Yeah, and I think one of the other great things for Blue, of course, we saw how good the Prophet of Tides has been throughout the course of the day, really. That extra movement means you can go for the opposite side because Prophet and the jump of your creature that you played means you're really going to be able to reach anywhere that your opponent plays into as well. So instead of putting yourself in limited positions by playing towards them, going up the opposite side, you guarantee your collection and you guarantee that you can make the trade on your terms, like you were just saying.
Now, as Sarakar, you have to be extremely scared of movement tricks, but that said, you can't play around them too much. If your opponent has a Prophet of Tides, he can reach your Sagami Warrior on the left side. So you're almost wondering, do I just go for Sagami Warrior on the right side of my orb? For his perspective, it would be left side, but yeah, so on the right side, he could develop the Sagami Warrior, he could develop the Wood Ellie. The safe line would be to go for Axe Grinder, but you have to start thinking, if he has movement, he can kill my left side creature anyway.
Yeah, I think this is looking good for Zerker as a couple turn follow up. If he goes for the Wood Ellie, if he goes for the Warrior, or even just the Warrior that he already has established on the left side here, and the Triton Warrior coming out from Teddy is able to clear one of these creatures, the Crackthorn looks really good as a follow up. Generally, you'd like a Ground Shaker instead, but the Crackthorn should do some good work to clean that up. And we actually see Teddy running the Falcon Dive instead of the Campfires that we've seen most other players throughout the course of the day lean towards.
Yeah, so Falcon Dive is really nice. It helps your Battletoads with Falcon Dive get trades into Axe Grinders. It just helps you out in the blue mirror as well for dealing with the enemy Prophet of Tides. It's a very versatile card, and it fits really well into blue. Campfire is really good as well, but Falcon Dive just gives you that little bit of extra greed play where you can punish certain lines. And we see Teddy looking at Triton Sanctuary, so it looks like he's just going to go for the double collect and a simple Battletoads line. Doesn't want to do the Prophet of Tides quite yet.
Yeah, starting to get a little bit of value from the card that he got from the Spell World there. Triton Sanctuary, a nice one, essentially is free right now if he's able to activate that. Can gain an insane amount of Faeria from the ability of the Triton Sanctuary over the course of maybe the next turn, maybe the next 2 turns if he feels like it's getting threatened. But Zarek are able to set up the Axe Grinder position, and both players, kind of like we talked about through many matches throughout the day, just playing away from each other, waiting until they can get that real break point to make the move into the aggression, either for the orb or towards the other creatures.
Yeah, exactly as you point out. A lot of the time in these matchups, you see some player try and force the trades early, use their movement, and then they play into a Ground Shaker, or they've split up their lands, and then they're not being as efficient as they can. And we see Teddy just trying to maximize the amount of Faeria he can be collecting, and just trying to optimize his creatures. There's no reason to force any trades yet because Zerkar has so many creatures to collect anyway. And yeah, Teddy's Triton Sanctuary, so I had to mouse over it for a second. His Sanctuary is up to 4 life, so already positive 2 Faeria if you were to activate it, but I imagine we might see it wait just 1 more turn.
Now, Teddy does have lines here where he could go very aggressive. He could use the Prophet of Tides in hand to move the Triton Warrior right to the orb right now, create another lake, put that Ninja Toad down and push 7 damage. But it's very early in the game, and Zerker has immediate responses. So you definitely want to use that Prophet of Tides towards taking out one of these creatures. But now Zerker has done a fantastic job of blocking around the wells. You can see both creatures on both wells set up in positions where the Warrior isn't going to be able to jump through properly to collect when it clears.
Yeah, the only line I see for Teddy that looks really ideal is like making a lake above the Triton Warrior, scooting it over, jumping on the forest, killing that Wood Ellie, but then you're vulnerable to the Ground Shaker. Now, on the plus side of doing it this turn is you're able to threaten face, and the enemy can't crack Thorn, but you would be very vulnerable to Ground Shaker, so understandably he doesn't go for that, and instead is going to set up just the Toad to get that additional collection in. And if he wants to, he can now Prophet of Tides to get the Sagami Warrior just to completely shut down the bottom side collecting from Zerkar.
Yeah, this is something that I was looking at. I wasn't sure which one it was better to go for, of clearing the offensive creatures there or the defensive ones, and take control over the game here. But I mean, we look at it again: 4-1 Triton Warrior, 3-1 Prophet of Tides. If Zerker had a Ground Shaker right now, it would get a ton of value. At this point, you're probably looking to develop either a forest or a mountain, doesn't really matter which, and then you just wait another turn and you start rolling the dice on double Crackthorn next turn.
Yeah, I mean, Teddy has to gamble at some point. When you're running these Prophet of Tides, you're going to be vulnerable at some point to playing it. So this is the turn to gamble. Your opponent can't Crackthorn. He goes for it, and it looks like it's going to pay off. And, Teddy, as I mentioned at the start of this match, he's running Sturdy Shells in his blue jump. So he wants to play this as a very controlled game and just wait to develop Sturdy Shell on the right side between the walls and have it start double collecting. And then he can just force all of his attention on the left side and just try and stall out Zerkar and get as much value taking trades on his own terms.
Yeah, Zerker not really with anything to play this turn. Just going to play a land and pass. Could go for the Elderwood Embrace, but generally you don't want to commit a buff until you actually have to use it. So we probably won't see that come down. Plus, this saves for enough Faeria to get double Crackthorn next turn. No, he'll be one short, sorry, of double Crackthorn next turn.
And we see that Sanctuary now up to 7 life, which means if he pops it, it's already +5 Faeria. Insanely efficient card to get off of that spell roll, and he's definitely making use out of that.
Yeah, and as much as both players have moved away from each other, Zerker emphasis on getting that Axe Grinder position. Teddy has now established a really good lake. It looks like he'll probably be able to establish another really good lake for Mystic Beast positioning up in the top right corner, even just for the Colossus positioning once those start to come down. It's interesting to see that Sanctuary is actually more than Teddy needs right now. You can pop that and generate 8 extra Faeria. If it survives, possibly generate 11 extra Faeria next turn, but that's way more than Teddy's going to ever be able to use in the course of one turn to really swing the game in this situation.
Yeah, I think Teddy's going to be hoping to find spell rolls, get some additional card draw in via the spell roll to help spend your Faeria, especially with how much he's going to be having, as you point out. And Zerkar actually picks up Ground Shaker now, so he has a very efficient line of getting that guaranteed kill on the Triton Warrior, on the Prophet of Tides, and just weaken those Toads so that a future Crackthorn or Ground Shaker will finish them off.
Yeah, I think I like going for the Ground Shaker here as well to bait out something from your opponent. Looking at that Frogify specifically in Teddy's hand. Now, top-level players, which we expect these guys to be at this stage of a tournament, you would expect that Zerker has been keeping track of which cards were generated by the spell roll, and he would know that Frogify, if it's played here, was a spell roll card. So he'll be tracking, okay, there's still 3 to come eventually. Now that Double Ninja Toad is picked up, that could be an option as well, but I generally would lean more towards the Frogify and save those Ninja Toads for better clears down the line.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Frogify looks very clean and efficient here. He also has the option of just playing the Triton Trainer afterwards, summoning the Ninja Toad, and taking that trade on the Sagami Warrior. Now, he doesn't need to this turn just because the Wood Ellie's already collecting, but it helps him just start picking apart the green-red creatures. It shuts down potential Grove Caller lines. It just helps wheedle down Zerkar's options, and picks up Embrace.
Crackthorn. I mean, this third Crackthorn coming down from Zerker, he has so many good clears if he's able to combo one into another here. A big thing to point out is, as we've been discussing the collection of all of these jumps, getting onto that Triton Sanctuary, that has gained 9 Faeria just through Teddy collecting off of the wells, while Zerker has really been limited up into the top left corner of only collecting off 1 well. So if he was actually able to keep a creature alive into the bottom left corner as all of these trades have been happening, Zerker might have been in a position where he could have got 2 Crackthorns down this turn. Really nicely clears off the 5-1 of the Ninja Toad there, but missed onto the Battle Toad in the bottom corner, unfortunately.
It's actually kind of interesting how this Sanctuary is going to be impacting the board, because we were thinking that maybe Teddy would have more Faeria than he even needs, but with the fact that it's absorbing hits from the Crackthorn, it's double dipping value for him. He doesn't have to worry about overloading on Faeria. He can just have it soak up these paints, and picking up Frogify now means he has the answer to deal with either the Crackthorn or the Wood Ellie, depending on what he prefers to go for.
Could generate enough Faeria just through using the Sanctuary to play everything in hand as well. Not sure if it does enough in this spot, just because you don't clear everything, but you could jump the Battletoad back into the middle, Triton Trainer on the left, and then Ninja Toad, and the Ninja Toad gets the buff from the Triton Trainer, clears off the Crackthorn in the top right corner.
Yeah, I almost wonder if just Frogify and using the 2-1 to trade is the best line. Activating the Sanctuary and then summoning the Trainer, and Ninja Toad just to collect as a 5-4 without actually doing any fighting.
Yeah, that looks really nice as well. You establish a big body onto the right side. Even if your opponent's follow-up next turn is another Crackthorn, possibly the RNG goes your way, and that 5-5 will survive, but the Crackthorn is in a position where you can clear it again with your... 5-4 of the Ninja Toad will survive, but it's in a position where maybe it can clear that Crackthorn. And there we do see the Sanctuary used. Frogify looks exactly like the line that you pointed out he's going to go for. Oh, no, it's onto... Oh, onto the face. I was thinking of it the other way, of play the trainer more defensive and jump the Ninja Toad from the bottom right up to the top right to collect.
You know, I got to be honest, I was thinking of the same thing when I said the line, but after watching Teddy do this, this is just even better. Smork for 5, getting some damage, no harm in that, and you don't need to quite defend that much. If your opponent had the Grove Call, he can't even really hit face, so you're not too scared yet.
Yeah, I think this is a really nice spot to turn that aggression, because even if for whatever reason Zeriker is able to clear this, I think it's inefficient enough in the way that it would need to be done that you are then still further ahead. Triton Trainer in the bottom left is collecting, Triton Trainer in the bottom right is collecting, probably going to jump up and double collect, and then you're just looking to draw 2 cards next turn, hopefully into Colossus, and you start snowballing your Colossus from there. So every point of damage and every big creature that you can get down before you get to your Colossus is really important.
Now, what can Zerikar draw into? What is his best answer? Do you just hope to draw into a Grove Crawler to teleport kill the Ninja Toad? Is it even worth it if you find that? Because as you're pointing out, you know, it's a 5-6 hitting to a 5-4. It doesn't feel that great. You know, we know Teddy's running Falcon Dives, and he has the 3-3 to double collect kill it if it were to happen. So what does Zerikar need? Does he just gamble the Crackthorn this turn?
It looks like that's what he's going to go for, and turn the aggression on. Ooh, Crackthorn gets to a 6-6, and it'll be able to be cleared by the 2 Triton Trainers back here, but yeah, it continues to look like a good position for Teddy. Oh, and another Frogify picked up.
Frogify absolutely insane against these Crackthorns and buffed Wood Ellies, so able to get some really good lines in here, either by value trading with the 3-3 or just letting his 3-1 die off, because there are ground shakers that he can run into, so just letting the 3-1 die off seems like the better line. He can even go face for 5 this turn, jump up with the trainer to double collect, and then just develop the Wave Crash in the bottom left after that.
I think I really like double clear. You have to use a Frogify in, I think, a pretty inefficient way, but just to double clear everything that your opponent has on board and then play a Colossus right behind it, even just up into the top right corner where you can maybe push that 7 damage next turn if you find another Prophet of Tides, I think just looks so strong to put yourself in a position where your opponent has nothing on board. Could backfire very hard if Zeriker's able to save for another Crackthorn before the Colossus is able to really do work for Teddy, but I just like clearing in this spot before somebody who's playing green is able to pump more buffs into their creatures.
I'm trying to think if there's a big punish to just collecting with the trainer, hitting face for 5 and developing the Wave Crash, but it would open up the possibility for that Wood Ellie to collect, get fed the Forest, and then Cypher's Wrath on the 5-2, maybe a Flame Burst on the 3-3, so he ends up going for the line that I was looking at, but maybe there is some potential punishments. As it looks, though, Zerikar not with the punishment yet in hand.
It's just so unfortunate for Zeriker. Every turn it seems like he's maybe 2 Faeria behind just because he's been so limited with his collection this game. And Teddy's done such a masterful job of continuing to collect off of the 2 right wells while contesting the left. Something that just seems so important over the course of every game that we've seen today is that far side double collection when you're fighting for the opposite side board control. So Zeriker now with possibly can go for a buff. He's seen 3 Frogifies. If he's been counting, it's technically 2 from the deck, but putting the buffs down looks really strong here. Your opponent committed a Colossus defensively, so that makes you think you have a lot of time, actually.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of what Zerikar can go for other than that. I think the best line I can see is go for a draw this turn, and then just hope to find a Cypher's Wrath for the 5-2. If you don't find it, you hit the 6-7 in and maybe embrace it off.
Now, a big thing if this game does continue to go later and later is this is now Teddy's second Wave Crash Colossus picked up. Zeriker has played 2 Crackthorns. He has the 3rd in hand. He's played 1 Ground Shaker, I believe, and then Cypher, I guess, is your other big creature coming out. But these Colossus, if Teddy's able to find them before Zeriker is able to combo into another big creature, could really be what swings the game of the big late game threats at this stage.
And Teddy continuing to play very efficient with his creatures, focusing on those wells. Instead of trying to go aggressive with that Wave Crash, making another lake forward, he just jumps back with the Triton Trainer, develops the Wave Crash on the well. This forces Zerikar to make the land if he even wants to trade into it. So setting Serkar even further back in order to do that, and Teddy in a very dominating position at the moment.
Yeah, this looks really tough here. I was going to suggest there even just the Wood Ellie steps back onto the forest. Ground Shaker, well, you would have to go +1 Faeria, Ground Shaker on the mountain there, just to hopefully set up a position where you can get a good Crackthorn on the following turn, clear off this Colossus in the top right corner. But even just the fact that Zerker is now getting another creature down, Teddy's going to reinforce with 2 more creatures of his own this turn. So kind of the moment that you think you're stabilizing, here's more and more power that you just can't deal with.
Teddy just has so much economy. Even his card gen, we saw him go very slowly productive with the Sanctuary, just trying to get those lands down. Once he had the likes and all the lands he needed in the spots, he just started drawing every turn, and he's had the Faeria to keep up with it.
Yeah, that's one of the amazing things of these movement type decks is not only is the jump enough movement where you can extend prairies instead of lakes and then start drawing every turn, you also have the profit so that if you draw, you can draw extra cards, because if you draw into a profit, you have the extra movement for whatever you need instead of placing your lands as well. So yeah, he's just, I mean, we can even see it that he's so many extra cards ahead as well. Just the creatures on board. It just, everything's been going right for Teddy this game.
And Serkar forced now to go into a Crackthorn list, a Crackthorn play, hoping that it kills a creature. Got very close to killing the Triton Trainer in the middle, but unfortunately only gets it down to the 1 life total.
I think part of that Crackthorn as well was hoping to get enough buffs onto the Crackthorn itself that it survived to body block against these couple creatures from Teddy. But it not getting any buffs and not killing off the trainer right in the middle means it's going to die for free, essentially. Is there anything to draw into that could have given lethal there?
And that was a pretty insane spiral. I don't know if it could have given him lethal. I can't think of anything, but finding Windfall and Tail, he could have actually collected if he wanted to with the 3/1 trainer. Windfall, then activate the Tail, but Teddy just trying to close this out now, sees the way of winning and just goes for it.
Oh, could have actually played Water Ellie and created the extra lake for the Triton Warrior. I don't think you lose at this stage anyway, but just to create that 1 extra creature to guarantee it 100%.
Yeah, and Serkar now able to kill the 6/6, Cypher's Wrath the 3/2, but it's not enough. That 4/4 is going to be able to finish him off. Okay, actually, can he +1? Okay, he could have stopped lethal by doing +1 Flameburst Cypher's Wrath on the 4/4, but that would just be delaying the inevitable.
Yeah, it does delay it for another turn here. We're going to see that Windfall like you talked about. I think you have to go Tail just because it is a creature-heavy deck anyway, but only gets the 1 onto the Colossus, but finds the Falcon Dive for the lethal there onto the Axe Grinder.
Well played by Teddy, finds the GG. I actually didn't get to showcase any of the sturdy shells, unfortunately. I would have liked to have seen that in this matchup as a very sturdy collector, but nonetheless gets to show off. Maybe it was from a Spiral. Maybe I missed that from watching the stream. Maybe he Spiraled into sturdy shell, I'm not sure now.
Yes, I wouldn't think you would run Sturdy Shell in that type of a list, just because the jump already gets you into double collection spots and has so much synergy in with itself. Of course, seeing the Spell Whirl in there, you think maybe that is the way that it was generated, but I couldn't see that card being in just because you don't need the aquatic double collection when you have jump double collection.
Yeah, it was a card that used to be ran a bit more popular in the jump deck back when all of them ran triple Phantasm, because it was a very efficient Phantasm target. But with all the decks getting improved and just switching to Triton Warriors, we saw Phantasm slowly get cut down, and with that the shells got cut down. So yeah, I think it was just from a Spiral, so I might have been mistaken earlier on.
Yeah, we see Zerker answering with playing into the mirror here, the blue jump, the deck that we didn't see in the series that we covered from him earlier in the day, and we see it again coming out from these players. It looks like an all-mythic again from Zerker.
Yeah, and you have to appreciate this. Just seeing the full mythic decks, the commitment to the archetype, that Zerkar's saying, what, my blue jump is pretty strong. Let's up the ante and make it an all-mythic deck.
And we see a good start for really both players here. Zerker getting that Triton Warrior down, but Teddy, just because going second, is able to find that Explore and go for a Triton Trainer and then the buff onto the Triton Warrior. Really nice start to get that 6/6 here.
Yeah, definitely really insane start for Teddy. But Zerkar actually with a pretty decent start as well, able to make that lake, get the collect with the warrior, and just battle Toads behind.
Yeah, and that Battletoads will efficiently take care of this warrior, the buffed warrior as well. Even once they trade into each other, the extra collection will pay for the value trade there. Big thing for at least this stage, Teddy will be the first to collect off his opponent's well, and if he's able to reinforce behind that, he'll continue to collect from his opponent's well, and that can be the real difference for the course of this game. We saw that in one of the earlier series. I think it was Zerika versus Imperia in the. Oh no, we didn't see that from them. Not sure which one it was, just off the top of my head, but any blue jump mirror earlier in the day, we saw one player set up on their own two wells and one player set up on theirs and their opponent's wells on one side of the board. And that's really important because you get that extra efficiency of collecting at the same rate as your opponent, but decreasing the cost of your Colossus.
Yeah, and it looks like Zerkar could consider, instead of a lake on the well, just going for a double land, but even then, he's got to be worried, as you pointed out, that if that 6/6 gets to collect from his well, trade in, even if you use a toad to kill it off, your opponent got to collect from your well, he has better lands, so Zerkar actually going to opt for a different line, doesn't want to go into that.
And doesn't even play the Battletoads as well, so saving his Faeria to play something bigger next turn, whether it's a Prophet of Tides and then combo that into a Mystic Beast so that he can put the aggression on before Teddy's really able to get established here. But we see the use of the Prophet coming out from Teddy instead of getting it before your opponent, something so important in this matchup.
Yeah, Teddy with that Prophet of Tides saying, you can't get away from me, I got the 6/6, I got the big creature. And just completely shutting down Zerikar's only creature on the board, so Zerikar very far behind now without any ability to collect. If he were to find a Ninja Toad, that would be one of his best lines of getting back in, but unfortunately he doesn't have it, so he could...
Ninja Toad would have been really nice to go with that Prophet to get the haste collection.
He could go for a lake on the well, use the Prophet of Tides, maybe just in front of his orb to try and contest that warrior, but then push that lake he created to the enemy well and drop that Mystic Beast and get that trigger.
Yeah, that doesn't look bad either. You play into a Frogify, but that's a Frogify used that won't be used for your Colossus, and your opponent's Prophet still trades into the Frog. So it looks like a strong play there. Unfortunately, Zerikar, like you said, like being a lake short for the Ninja Toad as well, is a lake short to go for something like Prophet, Mystic Beast, and follow up with Battletoads, and a Faeria short as well, unfortunately. So gonna have to play this slower out.
Yeah, and Zerikar finds the line, but wants to fear a Phantasm potential play, and so he moves it just out of range of that Prophet, and he's got jump on the Mystic Beast, so he'll get to do the trade on his own terms, and that's honestly one of the better spots to put the lake anyway, because then you force your opponent to make that land in order to even ever contest that tile. But for Zerikar, he's got to now navigate what is the best way of dealing with this Prophet of Tides, or at least protecting my 6/2 to potentially go face. Now he can jump to the middle lake and play a Prophet to push it to kill the Mystic Beast, and it looks like that's what he's going to go for.
Yeah, it looks like a really good clear. You are already able to use your warrior so efficiently thanks to the Triton Trainer buff to kill off your opponent's warrior, and now you're able to kill off a Mystic Beast as well as collecting from the top corner well. Just continuing to snowball board advantage here, even jumping the Triton Trainer up, playing another Triton Trainer in the middle or on the right side to reinforce. Goes for the Battletoads instead, but big thing here, as much as the board is being controlled by Teddy with these clears, Zerikar now limited to one creature on board, that Prophet of Tides, in the middle, not collecting.
Yeah, even if you get that trade onto the trainer, you know, Prophet of Tides, 3/1, hitting to a 3/3, that feels good, but it's just not good enough because Teddy has so many tokens. He's so efficient with his creatures, and this is just the advantage of getting that early tempo in the game.
Yeah, and even just the fact that Teddy has found Triton Trainer before Zerikar did. He was able to get that trade and then follow up with the buff as well. It's just been so big of a snowball here. Battletoads could come down for Zerikar, even going for a lake and playing one in between the wells on the left side, maybe even using the campfire so it survives against Teddy's Toad that's directly in the middle. But we're looking at a situation now where Teddy's going to collect from 3, maybe 4 wells if he can find another movement trick, and Zeriker's limited to 2, maybe next turn.
Now, I like the Triton Warrior play from Sarkar, but I actually wonder if he may have misstepped with where he positioned it. If he had summoned it just overriding his prairie, up right 1 tile, it would have denied that 2/2 from even being able to collect and trade into it. So if Teddy were to have like a Frogify, or he were to have a Phantasm, Mythmaker, any of that, he gets to collect and trade, whereas Sarkar could have actually denied that. Now, Teddy doesn't have the answer, so it won't get punished too much other than the fact that the Toad got to collect.
Yeah, and here's where we see the importance of all of the collection that's happened so far. Teddy finally finds his Wave Crash Colossus. We can see it's already discounted down to 4, thanks to that Toad jumping across like you were just talking about. Zeriker sitting with 1 in his hand from the start of the game, still sitting at 8 because he hasn't been able to collect at all. In a position where he could jump down to his opponent's well, kill off that Prophet of Tides, even make a lake for a Mystic Beast, and then you're looking to hope that it survives, follow up into a Colossus. But so many good options for Teddy right now of getting his own Colossus down, and that's really just going to spell the end for Zeriker here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Zeriker also has the option of doing the Battletoads after doing that, so I imagine this is just going to be his Hail Mary of play everything. Though he could go for Wave Crash instead if he feels like maybe the Mystic Beast Battletoads is too slow. Jump down, take the trade on the Prophet, and then just late Wave Crash and just hope to outrace him. But no, it looks like it's going to be the Mystic Beast play, and he could go for a Campfire to help void off of Phantasm play, but I don't know if we've actually seen Phantasm out of Teddy yet.
I think I like the Battletoads instead of the Campfire. I think if you're able to play both, you still play the Campfire there, but just the fact that the Battletoads put more creatures onto the board, more potential for you to actually collect your way back into the game, it just looks so much more important there instead of hoping that the Mystic Beast survives in one position.
Yeah, now we can see Teddy, if he wants to, decide to just put on the aggression, or you can play it as he has and just be very conservative. Make sure you get the enemy completely shut out of resources and just deal with the 4/1 and 5/6.
Yeah, gets to quad collect as well as dealing with these here. Could go for the Enchantress onto the Triton Warrior, drop it down to a 1/1 so that your Toad survives. That looks really nice as well. You don't clear off the Mystic Beast with this line of play, unless you use the Triton Chef, but looks like we're just going to see that Colossus come down defensive, even if the Mystic Beast is able to hit face, even if a Colossus comes down behind it. Both of those are going to be cleared on the next turn from Teddy.
Yeah, we could have actually seen even Teddy develop the Wave Crash in the middle of the map, because that would have enabled the Banquet to either go face or trade, but he's saying, all right, I'm just going to play it safe. Let's just drop it in front of my orb. I can't lose from this situation with being able to quad collect so many turns in a row. And as Sarkar, he has a 6-cost Wave Crash. He's starting to get them discounted, but he just is so overburdened by the amount of creatures that Teddy has on the field.
And drawing there, not sure exactly what he would be looking to draw into when he had the possibility to +1 Faeria, Water Elemental, and Battletoads. I think in this situation, when you were behind like that, you really needed to go for flooding creatures out onto the board and hoping that you can get the right trades to follow up, just as some form of getting back into the game.
Yeah, and Teddy picking up the Prophet of Tides means he wouldn't need to use the Banquet, but I think he really wants to develop Jump onto his Wave Crash regardless, and it looks like that's what he's going to go for. Able to kill off the Water Ellie with his trainer, so no harm of it dying unless Sarkar finds a Ninja Toad, but then he's spending his turn and resources just trying to kill off a creature of Teddy.
And Teddy actually could have used his Prophet of Tides to move the Prophet of Tides in the bottom right corner across and kill off that Water Ellie, continue to push 3 damage to the orb. But in that spot, you couldn't develop the extra land for your Battletoad up there to deal the 2, so you kind of blocked yourself. Doesn't really matter in that way. Just keeping it in hand for if he needs it later on, but don't really see a way now that this isn't, turn, well, I guess 2 turns away from the Colossus jumping to face.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look for a way of Sarkar to get back into this game. I mean, Teddy's in the lead. Sarkar has to find a Hail Mary play, and just goes for developing the Triton Trainer. Now, it is out of range of Teddy's creatures currently, other than the 2/2 bodies, So might potentially get some uptrades there, but there's Teddy picking up Mythmaker.
And that's lethal. Prophet of Tides can move the Colossus into a position. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. Would have been one off because you wouldn't have been able to get the land for the Battletoad and the Triton Chef to both hit the orb there and have the Aurora buff come down. Could have had a lethal line if he hadn't had to draw into Aurora, but does play that. Going to deal the extra 6, and that's going to be Zerikar surrendering the game.
Yeah, so Teddy up 2 points now, and Zerikar going to be on the back pedal with his yellow event deck now as his final deck.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how this one plays out. Yellow events, we saw Alvar get, I think, a little unlucky in the way that his hand played out in the 3rd place match there against Imperia's blue jump, but I think we've seen this one be pretty even throughout the course of the day.
Yeah, it was actually a very clutch Ninja Toad, able to deal with that charger early on in the matchup between Imperia and Zerikar. So, actually, it was Imperia versus Alvar. Sorry, my mistake.
Alvar, yeah.
And Zerikar with a pretty bad hand, though, unfortunately for him. He does have the Wind Soldier, which is really nice for dealing with the 3/3 bodies of the blue jump deck, but actually able to still mulligan. Gets the Colossus again, but on the bright side, he has the Explore card, and the Explore card is huge for the yellow events. This helps them tempo out and get that extra event for their synergy.
Yeah, unfortunate not to have a charger in hand, which is what you really want. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes for Explorer even this turn and then go for the Desert to play that Fanatic. But even just having the extra reach of the Explorer hidden in hand, of course your opponent knows that you have it, but just having it available at any point, and then that Flash Wind, even and then the Fanatic, depending on what Zerikar draws into on the next turn, could combo together some really nice movement.
Now, typically as the yellow event deck, I like to go up the same side of my enemy deck, especially when they're blue, because it enables your Wind Soldiers to help fight. But on the downside, it is a Fanatic as your first creature to fight with, and that 3/2 body is not very efficient against these Toads, so he's going to be hoping for a Campfire, but I think regardless, you have to go up the same side.
Yeah, and I think regardless, you have to play a creature onto the board. We see him actually jump back just so it's in a little bit more of a safer position here. Unfortunately, based on the way that it played out for Teddy, he actually has both Battletoads in positions where he can't get both of them to collect this turn. Sometimes when you see a blue, not necessarily blue jump, but used to be a start for kind of the blue 7s list with Battletoad start, that you would go double lake beside your orb so that you could then go double prairie so both could collect as soon as possible. But this front start has become much more played by these types of decks just so that you can extend your lands as quickly towards your opponent as possible.
And this is where you can see some very high level play out of Teddy. Teddy recognizing that he doesn't want to go up the same side. He doesn't want to play into these Wind Soldiers, Soul Drains, any of that. He wants to just develop on the left side, avoid the enemy deserts, and set up that 4/4 to really contest anything that he collects with on the right side of the field. And this is also going to enable finding Triton trainers later on for the Ninja Toad to get kills on chargers. One of the other lines that some players would go for would just be to make a lake on the right and double collect with the Ninja Toad, and Teddy with the next level play, just playing around yellow's cards basically.
Yeah, and Zerikar now picking up that Outland Ranger, having the Campfire available means the Wind Soldier can pick up a really nice clear, as well as double collecting, kill off the Triton Warrior. Even just jumping the Fanatic and using the Flash Wind with the Campfire can be really good, but I think the Flash Wind is definitely something that you want to save, at least for now. Can be so much more important to get onto your charger later on.
Yeah, and Zerikar has a difficult position now of where do you put the Ranger, because if he puts the Ranger on the top right desert, it is going to be a little bit vulnerable to, well, I guess it would be vulnerable to Ninja Toad regardless, but he wants to have the 3/2 Fanatic as the creature able to double collect, so you want to play the Outland Ranger behind it, and that's what he goes for.
Yeah, and I think this is also really nice because if Teddy goes for double neutral straight up the left side to double collect with that Battletoads, you can trade your Ranger. It's an inefficient play, but if you can stop your opponent from collecting off your well, I think it's a play that you want to go for. So might be something that we see come out here. Looks like we're going to see another Warrior reinforced, and this looks really nice. Teddy's 2 Toads right now can test both creatures on the board, and Triton Warrior to follow up into whatever else is played.
Yeah, and we can see Sarkar only with an 8-cost Colossus, not cheap enough yet to start getting the insane value in the matchup. And usually, if yellow gets an early Soul Pact or they get an early Soul Drain with a couple other events, they can get out the Colossus before the enemy can actually get the discounted Wave Crash. It's usually a race who can get the discounted Colossuses out first. And in this situation, it looks like Teddy is maybe slightly ahead in this race.
Yeah, this is tough right now. Even just the way that the lands have developed, Zerker could use the Flash Wind and the Ranger to collect and then kill the Toad, but he would need to develop lands up on that side, which means he can't develop lands on the right and collect when he kills the Toad there, both in kind of inefficient clears, but made more efficient if you can collect with both creatures. So really a tough position of what to go for here, just because you don't really have good follow-up afterwards as well.
Yeah, I think the play that looks the strongest to me is just forcing yourself to make that land next to the Outland Ranger, just hit into the 2/2 Frog, make the land on the bottom right well inside of it to get the Fnatic to collect trade. You've dealt with both of his Toads, then drop that Demon in the top right desert. And it's going to be self-harming you, but you have the Flash Wind, you have the ability to deal with any creature that he drops with the Demon. It's very efficient, and looks like that's what he's going to go for.
Yeah, and again, like we've talked about, both players at this point are playing to deny their opponent as much as possible, as well as just play towards their own late game. So everything that you can do at this stage of the game to work towards your Colossus before your opponent can get to their Colossus is really what you want. So even just the Battletoads coming out from Teddy is going to continue to set up positions where he can keep collecting at better rates than what his opponent's collecting. Just ends up snowballing the game into the late game as he's looking to get those Colossus down.
Yeah, and this is where Zerkar is really going to be looking for another Flash Wind or another Fnatic just so he can get that additional movement. And, you know, he hasn't seen any Triton trainers out of the opponent, so drawing into a Charger would also feel really strong. Now, when your opponent does get to the Triton trainers, that's when you have to fear, okay, is it even safe to play a Charger because a Ninja Toad will be threatening it throughout the game? And currently it would be safe, so I imagine Zerkar would go for a draw this turn rather than going for any aggressive land.
And we actually see the Flash Wind come down to move that Demon, get the aggressive desert down, and looks like just Colossus drop. Another Flash Wind, another Fnatic will mean that Zerker possibly able to push a lot of damage on the upcoming turn.
Yeah, I guess Zerkar was maybe a little bit worried about the race scenario, but by going for this, you've sort of opened up the avenue now for Teddy to start hitting face. So I don't know if this is actually playing around it more or just playing into Frogify trades plus face damage. So a little bit surprised from Zerkar, but maybe this is his haymaker. Got to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, in this position, when you've just seen your opponent commit that many resources, looks like a basically desperate Colossus is all I have. What do you think of what looks like the play Teddy's going for, which is Mystic Beast and Colossus, both aggressive, try to set up a 2-turn, maybe 3-turn lethal, depending on the way that you can get your Ninja Toad down next turn?
Was there a way to afford this with Ninja Toad Colossus instead of using the Mystic Beast? I was trying to find a way of doing that, but maybe it just wasn't possible, just being one Faeria short. So very strong line out of Teddy.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't have had quite the lands for it. Aquablood just saying in our chat, yeah, you could have gone from the lake in the bottom right corner, jumped across and collected, and then killed off the Demon. But I think you want to push the aggression as much as possible. You don't really care about how much damage you're going to take in this spot. Zerker actually going for the draw instead of establishing a land to use his Colossus for the face.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise there because that 2/2 is going to either block the Demon from going face or block the Colossus from going face because he has to use one of them to trade with. And it looks like Zerkar is actually just witnessing that he's just too far behind. The tempo has already been paced for Teddy.
Yeah, and we see the Demon does clear, but again, having gone for the draw, the Flash Wind not able to be used in any way because the land wasn't able to be developed. Another Ninja Toad picked up, but I believe this is just lethal with the Ninja Toad. The mountain played down. Could have played any other land there. Or I should say, could have played a Lake there and gone for the Ninja Toad, but the Demon self-damage is going to kill off Zerikar, and we get a 3-0 from Teddy in the finals.
A completely demolishing performance from Teddy with this blue deck and running Sparrow. So he's got, 10 out of 10 performance in my books. I love the list, and very strong play from both players, but Teddy, just with that extra step in getting these early plays and just being able to snowball them, having the insight of how do I play this matchup, how do I get the most value, and just showcasing why he was able to get #1 on ladder and hold it for so long in that last season.
Yeah, really dominating performance. I know you're going to stay on the desk for it, but let's kick it back over to Aquablad, see what he thought of that.
So Teddy having a dominating finals there, and no surprise really, just because of how well Teddy has performed in the last couple of months. His commitment to the game has really paid off, and just a clean sweep in that final series to win himself $1,500. Big congratulations to him, and Equilibrium take another title in the Monthly Cup. So Fairy Tail have their work cut out for them. You casted that whole series, so you've been talking about it a lot. How do you feel that went? Do you think Zerikar got outplayed, or do you think the draws went in Teddy's favor? Like, how did you see that?
Well, it was a bit of both. I think Teddy played exceptional. He definitely got the most value out of his plays. Seeing the Sanctuary value he got out in particular, like a lot of players would Spiral get that card and be like, all right, it's not going to be that good in this matchup. I'll just not play it because it's vulnerable to ground shakers. I don't want it to get pinged off or anything like that. But Teddy just having the insight of being like, okay, I'm going to get it down. I'm going to maximize my collections and manage to get exceptional value out of it. So really top notch. And Sparrow, it was pretty good luck, I would say. He got Frogify. In some of the other matchups, he got some pretty good cards, and it worked out nicely for him. For Zerikar, though, I feel like his yellow deck against the blue jump deck in particular, it looked like it had the ability for Zerikar to win that, but maybe with some over-aggression with that early Colossus.
It was tough, I think, for Zerikar. He didn't find any soul drains, to take care of those frogs. He had the nice line of Wind Soldier Campfire, and that was great. They gave him an out on that warrior, but the additional Battletoad follow-up, the extra warrior, I think there was just too much mobility, too much value coming from Teddy's blue deck. And Spell World did a lot of work. He wasn't the only player that ran it, and maybe this is the evolution of blue jump, and not so much. I think it's just the variance of what you can get from blue is so good. Like Aurora, Frogify, Phantasms, Wave Crash Colossus. There's a lot of cards in blue. Like even some of the more unconventional ones, like the Triton Sanctuary. Like you said, that was just soaking up Crackthorn hits. That had a lot of relevance in that match. So Spellware just seems like a powerful card to include in these jump decks.
Yeah, I gotta say, Aqua, I was streaming Blue Jump with Sparrow. They copied me.
Everyone copies you, dude.
But yeah, Sparrow, a very strong card. And it was interesting to see Teddy with Falcon Dives. It looks like he's stopped running Campfires. I can't recall seeing any Campfire in that game, so it looks like he's gone away from that. And I think a couple other players did. We saw some with Campfire, but Falcon Dive really showing a strong performance, enabling Ninja Toad plus Falcon Dive in some of his matches to kill off those Sagami Warriors. So worked out very nicely for him.
And another thing with Falcon Dive of a Campfire, I know there's two camps of it, but I feel like Falcon Dive's just a little bit better because one, it kills Prophets of Tide, just like clean, and two, it kind of that's mainly it really. It extends your reach that way. I mean, you can still do powered up Ninja Toad plus Falcon Dive to kill, say, a Ground Shaker or a Cypher. That still works out, and that works with Campfire too. But that Falcon Dive, being able to ping off those free ones is really important because they may not seem like much after their ability. I mean, their ability is incredibly powerful, but a free one can still have a lot of relevance on board, be it collecting Faeria, be it clearing some of your collectors. So I think it's always... I feel that Falcon Dive is the better of the two. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. Falcon Dive, it just has that extra potential of winning you the mirror matches. When your enemy plays a Prophet of Tides, and you're just like, oh, I got the answer. Falcon Dive, dealt with. And so it works out very nicely. And even for Triton Warriors Trading Warrior getting in attacks and having a Falcon Dive just to secure if someone buffs up a Toad, or actually I guess a Toad would die either way, but if a Water Ellie gets buffed up or a Triton Trainer gets buffed up to be a 5/5 and then they get the trick to trade into your creature, you have the Falcon Dive to finish it off, and that comes up more often than maybe what people have recognized.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a big fan of the card, and we always talk about how much is a good card it is, and in those styles of decks, it's exceptional. But we'll take a look at the bracket and how the day panned out. Larico taking the bounty from Arianella in the top left-hand corner in round 1, with Zarakar defeating Lou 90 in a clutch 3-2 victory, taking himself all the way to the finals, that $100 bounty and $1,000 in second place. And of course, Alvar claiming $100 for his 4th place finish, with Imperial taking $500 for his 3rd place finish, and another top 4 performance from him. So a very consistent player in these monthly cups. And of course, Teddy winning his first ever tournament. I believe this is his 2nd ever monthly cup. I don't know if I can confirm that. Maybe Scorch can confirm that for me.
Sorry, for Teddy?
Is this his 2nd monthly cup?
Was 3rd. Teddy played back in. I'm gonna have to double check here. Yeah,
September
it was
and
like
March.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's playing a lot.
I only know that because I thought I only had him playing in his first one in March, and Lou corrected me. No, he beat me, or I beat him, or something like that back in September or whatever it was.
So he has quite a history with this game, but he wasn't really, that much in the spotlight during the September time. Sorry, there was a lot going on during then, especially in early access. But yeah, Teddy having a fantastic performance. After watching him perform on the ladder with 2 accounts, reaching that top end ELO rating, just performing very well overall. So that wraps up the monthly cup number 10. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and of course thank you to Cappuccino and Atmaz and Scorch and Zolagrim for all joining me on the desk. Any final words from you, Cappuccino, before we head off?
Be careful with Spiral and Ladder, boys. Be careful.
And that is it. That's all he's got for you.
You gotta pray. You gotta pray to Krog before you start your ladder games. That's all I gotta say. And yeah, it was an absolute blast to cast these games, and thanks for having me on to cast.
Awesome. And you can also catch Cappuccino at twitch.tv/itscappuccino, and he's quite an active streamer, so be sure to follow him. Over to Scorch as well. Also, talk about the Krog Wheel of Fortune that'll be happening tomorrow.
Yeah, so it kind of leads in through. I stream on twitch.tv/metagamingtv. The next stream from there won't be from me. It will be from Scream112, another big name of a member of the community. He runs the Krog's Wheel of Fortune, Krog's Wheel of Treasures. I forget exactly the wording for it, but every Sunday he runs that. It basically is just a come join the raffle, and then whoever wins the raffle that takes place in the chat there, he will spin the wheel for you. There's a ton of really cool prizes that you can win on there. Of course, some Memoria chests, mythic chests, egg avatars, dragon orbs are sometimes on there. I know he does kind of regular week-to-week ones, and then a big monthly one as well.
Awesome. And Atmaz, if you're here, any final words?
Oh, hi. No, I really don't. I mean, I just be repeating everything you guys said. Thank you so much for casting and taking time out of your day. And thanks everyone for watching and getting your eggs. I hope you're covered in eggs. I hope you're just sitting on a pile of them, like a mother hen, a mother goose, whichever you prefer. Or even a father goose, it's fine. But do remember that hatching will not occur this weekend due to aforementioned reasons. You can check our Discord for more info, but basically we'll be having a hatching period next week to make sure you get your little yaklings that you deserve. And yeah, congratulations to our players. Just awesome tournament as always. Never disappoints. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Awesome. And Zolagrim had to bounce early, but a big shout out to Zolagrim for joining us on the cast once again, and he really enjoyed himself, so hopefully we'll see him again in the future. So that wraps up all the goodbyes. Again, thank you very much. If you did enjoy this broadcast, be sure to drop a follow on Faeria TV so you know when we go live again in the future. So until next time, guys, take care, have a great day.